Hey guys, sitting here in a parking lot, and sometimes I feel like Facebook is like everybody's Google. Everyone should Google stuff for them. I've seen a lot of EMS pages out here on Facebook and online stuff, and I see a lot of the comments and a lot of questions like, "Oh, I live in so and so state, and I want to be an advanced paramedic. How do I do that?" It's like you can't even Google that yourself and figure that shit out. It's almost as if you can't figure that little part out, then maybe you shouldn't be even trying to get in to be a paramedic. On the flip side of that, I see people really struggling with their exams, especially like National Registry exams. And you'll have people say, "I've failed the exam 3 times. I passed the skill stations, but I failed the written test, 3 times." And they're looking for guidance on how to pass the test. And some people will actually respond or even say it to themselves and say, "Well, if you failed the test 3 times, then, EMS isn't for you. You shouldn't even be in EMS, And I don't necessarily agree with that mentality. And then what ends up happening too, you get a lot of people who will be saying, use this website, this practice exam, this website app, stuff like that. I mean, I could easily go on those too and say, "Hey, use my practice exams on my website," right? But that's not going to help the person. To me, if you've failed the test that many times, there's there's a disconnect going on, right? Most of the time when I've actually coached people online and helped them sort of one-on-one coaching type stuff, I find it's not the content, right? People understand what they're reading in the textbook. They're getting what they see in the textbook. The issue becomes them not preparing for the exam itself. They're not ready for the breadth or the total amount of content that they're going to be responsible for in the exam. They're focusing too much on what they're taking when it comes to practice exams, right? That's what they're going to see, and that's all they should study for, and they shouldn't focus on anything else. And the reality is that you're responsible when you take these tests pretty much for anything that was covered during your training, right? But of course, as we all know, they're not going to be able to fit everything you've learned in a 200-question exam, or in that registry case, they're not going to be able to fit everything in a computer-based adaptive sort of testing environment, right? So how do we get around this? How do we figure out what it is that they want? Well, like I said, most of the time, the people are not struggling with the content, right? They've studied, they've gone through their paramedic class or EMT class. They've passed the classroom quizzes, the classroom exams and all, right? So what ends up happening is they're missing the key element of test taking, not understanding how to read a question, how to read the answers, how to break it down so they can figure out easily which answers are automatically not going to be the right answer and which answers might be right? Some exams, and like National Registry, FISDAP, right? You might take those exams and find that a lot of the answers all sound correct. So you've got to figure out how to go ahead and get rid of that element, right? Figure out how to remove the answers that are wrong, or wrong for what the question is answering, okay? And this sounds like common sense, right? It sounds pretty, pretty kind of common. Oh, I'll know the wrong answers. But the problem is that people don't, right? They start reading into it and they start doing something, the what if mentality, right? Well, what if the patient this, or what if the doctor this, or what if the medication that? No. The answer is in the question, right? So if the question is asking a certain thing, that's the answer you've got to look for. You've got to get rid of the other answers and focus on the one or two that's left so you can kind of narrow it down. Now, some questions are probably pretty straightforward and you'll know the answer right off the bat, right? Because like I said, most of the time, people know the content. They've studied it for 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever the case may be, right? So it's a matter of getting into the testing mentality, understanding, like I said, the question, how the question is formatted, how it's asking, looking for key elements of a question that will tell you what it's looking for, looking for keywords like accept, always, okay? Looking for things like absolutes, looking for things that make the question, that might be a very complicated question, but maybe what ends up happening in the end, the question is really a yes or no answer, right? Or true or false. So you take that question and you look at your answers and you say to yourself, okay, well, which one of these answers is false when it comes to this question? And that's a great way to narrow down what a correct answer is as well, right? So while, I see a lot of recommendations for exam taking websites and stuff like that, which are great. They all play a part. What makes me kind of laugh is that people say, well, try this app or try this website or try this. Don't you think that person that has failed 3 times has already done some sort of practice exams, that they're not that blind or that dumb that they haven't looked online and taken some sort of practice exam already, right? Of utilized some sort of app already, whether it's paid app or free app or whatever, and again, those sites are useful. Okay, I recommend my site all the time, right? They're useful. But to me, I'm not a big fan of focusing just on multiple choice practice exams that don't give you the tools to actually succeed. All right? They give you memorization pretty much, right? But if you're not good at taking tests, or you can't go into the whole thing, like I said, and kind of look at a question and look at answers and figure out what's wrong, what's right, what's true, what's false, what's yes or no, what are the absolutes, right? That goes into not necessarily the content, but the method of how exams are written, okay? And if you're the type of person that's struggling and you failed the test 2 times, 3 times, right? That's where you got to start looking. You got to start looking at the question answer method. You got to start looking at how those things are created. Okay? And once you sort of understand that, then your knowledge of the content will click in and play a role in you passing. Okay? So it can be tricky. It comes with experience. And it also comes with seeking out that content. There's a way, I have something on my website that I offer. It's sort of a system that you can use that shows you all of that, shows you the question, the answers, the breakdown, how to take tests. It focuses on things like the National Registry and what they're looking for, and how to break that down. Okay. It's an exam. I call it an exam success formula. Okay, I actually use it myself when I take any exam, and I've been doing this almost 30 years, but, no matter how long you do it, some of that stuff that you don't use every day in the street, you kind of forget it, right? Even if myself, like I might teach it sometimes in some of the PowerPoint presentations that I do, the EMS Quick Study Guide stuff, right? I might actually give little, segments of that, But before I do that, guys, I'm not bringing that stuff off the top of my head. I read up and I brush up on that stuff before I go and do the presentation. I hate to break the news to you, all these educators that are sitting on their high horse looking down at you, trying to tell you how smart they are. Before they do a presentation, guess what? They're reading up on it too, right? They're studying the content too to know what the hell they're talking about when they go and present it to you. Nobody is that smart, okay? A lot of people that feel they are that smart and up on their horse looking down at you, these EMS, empty suits, so to speak, they're smart to a point where they're almost dumb, right? So just keep that in mind, guys, right? Everyone's comments and commentary is not necessarily 100% true, okay? Keep the stuff basic, all right? Don't feel because you failed an exam 2 times or 3 times that somebody can sit up on their high horse and tell you you can't be an EMT, you can't be a paramedic. There could be a chance that maybe it isn't the field for you, right? But don't let it be not the field. Don't let it not be the field for you because you know the content and can't pass a test, right? You know the content. Most of the time you do already. And it's not a matter of figuring it out. It's a matter of knowing how to take tests and how to read questions and how to understand the answers. Heather, I see you in the chat here. You mentioned about testing anxiety, and that is also a large part of why people fail also, right? And that really ties into something what I just talked about. When you understand questions and you understand how that the STEM, how to read it, how to understand it, how to choose answers, how to eliminate answers and eliminate choices and stuff like that. When you understand those parts, your testing anxiety will go from way up here, it'll come down, right? Because now it's not just about, I know my stuff, but I freak out in the exams. Well, because, you're probably not that comfortable with the questions and taking the test, right? So that's where understanding how the questions are formatted and understanding how to answer them and understanding what questions look for, okay, how to not read into questions and how to not do that whole what if thing I mentioned a little earlier, right? It all ties in together there, right? It'll bring your anxiety down. Listen, everybody gets anxiety taking a test. I don't care who you are. I think if somebody tells you they don't have test anxiety in some format, they're full of shit, right? I have testing anxiety. I'm going to have testing coming up for me in like 3 months, right? I'm already thinking about it, okay? Because this is your livelihood. This is the job you want to do. You're already doing it and you're recertifying and you want to recert, or you're trying to be a paramedic or an EMT. This is what you're passionate about, what you feel you want to do with your life, okay? Or at least start your medical career in. And, it's hard to not kind of focus on the anxiety level when it comes to taking the test. So, again, the content and you go into the test and you're anxious, but again, that part of anxiety is going to go back to understanding questions, understanding answers, what an exam is looking for, okay, and how to answer it to the best of your ability, okay. And the key thing is, to me, is that a lot of questions you'll find on a test, if you know the content, right, you've studied, you've reviewed, you've used some practice tests, right, whether they're mine or the medictest.com or the Limit Creative, whatever, okay, you find a lot of the answers, right? You're getting a lot of them right. But there's a percentage that you're not getting right, okay? Because those are the tricky ones. So when you know the questions and how they're formatted and you know the answers and how to eliminate stuff, or if you don't know the answer, you don't know the answer to a question, you're totally drawing a blank, knowing how a question is formatted, knowing how answers are formatted and how they present to how they relate to that question, will help you answer the question even if you have no idea what the hell the answer is, right? So that plays a big part in it as well, okay? And when you start thinking about that and thinking about how you're answering those questions, right, you will find that 5 points, 2 points, whatever it is, 1 point for each of those questions that you struggle with, right, you'll find that you'll be getting those questions right. And that stuff adds up And that's what makes a difference between you passing and failing. I hope this makes sense a little bit, guys. I'm trying to do some more of these live videos for you, give you some insight on some of this stuff. And I hope it really helps you out. I hope you kind of take a step back and think about this a little bit. You know, and just sort of think about what I'm talking about and how it relates to your success on a test, your success when it comes to any test. It doesn't have to just be National Registry. It could be anything that you're taking. Even a test you take if let's say you're a college student, right? You're going back to college with stuff. This stuff applies to all of that. It's not just about the National Registry test, okay? You can have testing anxiety for anything you go into. So, it all, like I said, I think it all ties in together. I hope it helps you out a little bit. Again, you want some more information, you can go to emsseo.com. I got a lot of stuff there. You can check out some of the things. If you're looking specific help, like I said, on testing anxiety and the formatting of questions and how to succeed and have a sort of a formula on how to pass any exam, look up the EMS success formula there. And I think that will help you a lot if you're one of those people that are really struggling. So go check that out if you have the time and it's something you think might help you out a little bit. Otherwise, again, just keep in mind what I talked about. You can probably get some other free resources online that kind of covers this type of stuff. It might not set it out in a formula sort of format that I do, with the videos and stuff like that I put together for that stuff. But you can definitely find some stuff on that, guys, too, right? All right, guys. So, let me go ahead and end this. If you came in a little bit late, that's cool. You can go back and watch it from the beginning, and watch some of the highlights of it in the beginning. John, I hear you talking about the high points pretty much are not to listen to people who are telling you that EMS is not your career because you failed the test a few times. Think about your knowledge of the content. Think about how questions and answers are formatted and understand that part of the exam process, and understand how not knowing that and knowing how that is all formatted and how that plays into the exam format and the exam process itself can play a large role when it comes to testing anxiety and your overall success. All right, guys, let me end it there. It's getting hot as hell in this car. I got to go into this freaking doctor's appointment. I will see you another live episode soon. If you have questions or comments, guys, put them below in the notes. You can actually email them to me as well, at admin@emsseo.com. Send me some questions. I'll be more than happy to get on here, live videos, and give you some more feedback and answer questions directly right here on Facebook, on the Facebook Live as well. I'm going to try to get this over on Instagram too, some Instagram followers there. If you're not following me on Instagram, guys, go ahead and do that. I put more content there, sort of more lighthearted stuff on Instagram. I'm at EMS Safe there. Okay? All right. That's it, guys. As always, I am Jim Hoffman for emsseo.com. Stay safe.